What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Now, today we're going to be returning to the now infamous r/EntitledParents. How dare you touch my daughter's bra? So this happened to a male co-worker of mine. I'm never on cash register, but I had the fortune of cleaning something nearby when this occurred, and got to witness the fun. EM entitled Mum, CW co-worker. CW was at his register when EM, with her young teen daughter, came up with their purchases. He greeted them and set about scanning their items. Everything was normal. Then he picked up a bra to scan and take the hard tag off. EM, what do you think you're doing? CW, I'm sorry? Why are you fondling my daughter's bra? Oh, I need to scan it, that's all. Get someone else to do it. I don't understand the problem, Mum. At this point, the daughter was red in the face and nudging her mum, asking her to let it go. But no, EM wasn't screaming, but she was definitely being loud. She started calling CW a pervert and indecent, saying that a gentleman should never touch a young woman's underwear. CW was trying to explain that he was just doing his job. Another cashier got a manager who rushed over. She arrived and asked EM to explain the situation. This perv was fondling my daughter's new bra. He should have at least called a woman to come handle it. Wasn't he taught that when you hired him? Manager, we don't train our employees to do any such thing. We train them to respect every item and every customer. He was fondling my daughter's new bra. He's disgusting. Mom, CW has worked here for 2 years. He scans bras all the time. Trust me, it's not sexual for him. EM then yelled at my co-worker and my manager for being disgusted perverts and said she'd be calling the police on us for condoning paedophilia. She grabbed her embarrassed daughter and stormed out of the store. We all had a good chuckle about it. Other customers shook their heads and rolled their eyes. CW was fine. He thought it was ridiculous and funny. And he's been retelling the story all day. This is just ridiculous. I'm just wondering how old this woman is and what kind of household she grew up in. Sorry, your 6-year-old can't use my $1,300 phone? I own a Samsung Galaxy Note 9. One I purchased with my own money, which is big because I'm only 14. I enjoy making sketches on it, and I'm called a good artist by my friends, so when I sketch with it in public, I feel pretty proud when people watch, and I don't mind it at all. I was sitting in the bookstore my mum owns because she works Saturdays. I usually stay home, but she was working late and didn't trust me. I was sitting in a reading chair and I pulled out my phone to finish a drawing I was working on. A family of 5 with EM, entitled Mum, ED, entitled Dad, and 3 kids about 6 to 14 years old come over. The youngest kid, LK, picks out a book and sits on the chair next to me. He looks over my shoulder to see what I was drawing, and as I said, I didn't mind. He's talking about my drawing and my phone, and I took the compliments. He then gets super excited for some reason and goes to tell his parents about it. A few minutes later, ED approaches me. The conversation went something like this. ED, somewhat respectful yet confrontational. Hi, we'll be here for a while. Can my youngest use that toy for a bit? Me, sorry, it's not a toy, it's my phone. It's not your phone, it's a drawing thing. Yes, I draw on my phone. He looks at me visually confused and asks his wife to come over. Their kid follows her. ED to EM. He won't let Jacob use his drawing board. They look like an older couple, so it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't know much about cell phones. EM in a kindergarten teacher voice. Will you please let my son use your drawer? This is my phone. I bought it myself for $1,300. No, your child cannot use it. Oh, that piece of junk probably cost $5. She then tries to take it from my hands. I resist and she pulls harder. I pull it back in my hands and call for my mum. She looks over the counter to see what was going on. She was busy with a customer, so I was on my own until the transaction was done. ED to LK. See, Jacob, that's how mean people act when they don't share. I'm a bit shy, I have mild anxiety, so I began to break down a bit and said to ED, I have a right not to give your child my $1,300 phone. EM lets go like it was contaminated. They looked at me like I was crazy and walked off, talking about my attitude. The 2 other kids came up to me and apologised for their crazy parents' behaviour. They were super nice about it, but I didn't want to deal with anything as I was still recovering from the whole thing. So their kids actually knew how entitled their parents was. This makes the story even worse. The benefit to having your mum own a store is you don't have to ask them to leave. She does. I stayed in the back for the rest of the day. At least 2 of the kids weren't entitled. I'm not sure how they've managed to be brought up and not be entitled listening to their parents, but well done to them. My son broke his computer. He's allowed to use yours. I was 12. My parents moved us to a new place. Our neighbours were unpleasant. There were the EM and father, never met him, can't call him entitled, with 2 sons. One was 13 and the other was about 8 or 9. The older brother, OB, was a decent guy. We were school bus pals, but the younger one was the issue. But looking back on it, he probably had a social disorder like Asperger's or perhaps ADHD. My mum did not like this kid. A few incidents happened before with him, and my mum nicknamed him the orange-haired goblin. I'll call him OG. This story is told from my mother's perspective, perspective as she dealt with EM. Despite this happening over 10 years ago, I do remember that it happened, but the written dialogue here is pulled from my mother's retelling of the story, so there's a tad of embellishment. This was in the day of dial-up in my country. It was fantastic. My mum and I had a system where I'd quickly load a flash game with a heads up, then disconnect from the internet and plug the phone back in. It was the school holidays, so it was just my mum and I at home when my dad was at work, so it was an otherwise empty house when this happened. Mum: OP, you're supposed to give a heads up when you're unplugging the phone. I need to make a call. Me from the backyard: I'm not on the computer though, I'm outside. Mum pokes her head out the kitchen window, sees me, looks confused, then turns around. She and I have the same idea, so we both head to the room with the computer and we find OG. Excuse me, what are you doing? My mum told me I could use your computer. Why don't you just use yours? Despite hating this kid, my mother is not unreasonable. She's not going to get annoyed with an 8 to 9 year old. I broke it. Well, I'm sorry, but she can't decide that. You have to ask for permission. Besides, you can't let yourself in our house anyway. You can finish the game, but I need to plug the phone back in, so you can't load anything else. Mum then gives me a look that meant keep an eye on him. She later told me she didn't want him to break our computer if he indeed broke his own, so she needed me to keep an eye on him. OG then leaves. Then 10 minutes later, we hear a knock on the door. I go to answer, but my mum gets there first. EM: OG told me you won't let him on your computer. Sorry, who? My son? Oh right, the kid who let himself in. He told me you told him he could use my computer. Why is that? His was broken and I needed to entertain him. So that makes it okay? I wouldn't have minded letting him if you had just discussed it with me first. He's an angel, there's no harm in him using it. Clearly there is if he broke his one. At this point, EM must have been getting annoyed. I heard this part for myself and she started shouting very loudly. He only broke his keyboard, he spilled his drink on it. It's safe for him to use yours because he learned his lesson. It still doesn't give him or you the right to come and go as you please and use our property without permission. But you said you would have let him, so what's the problem? My problem is a strange kid I barely know just walked into my house and used my computer because his mother said he could. If that's how you treat your neighbours, then you or your children are not welcome here anymore. My mum then slammed the door and that was the last we heard from EM, though she'd stare at us if she saw us leave the house. My mum would make jokes about the kid if she saw him in the street, like, oh crap, it's the orange-haired goblin, remember to lock the door. When school resumed, I was talking to the older brother on the school bus. He told me that his mother had asked him to steal our keyboard if he ever comes around again. He understood that his mother was a wackadoodle, so we just had a laugh about it. Why, of course, my son, you can take anything you want, nobody will care, take our neighbour's computer. The most triggering part about this is when EM calls her son an angel. Anyway, that was some more stories of some crazy entitled parents. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more daily content.